Hello, everyone, and welcome
Or welcome back,
to the Wizarding World Legacy Podcast
where we discuss the magic of the Wizarding World's past, present,
and future. We're your hosts, Eric
and Jasmine.
and Jasmine. When did it become canon?
When did what become canon?
Any of it.
What is canon?
Well, we're shooting on a canon right now.
Oh, so that's what canon is.
No, but canon typically describes the sort of foundational plot points or elements of a story that hold true no matter adaptation or retellings or what have you. It's the real fundamentals of the story as written by the initial storyteller.
Is it possible for canon to change?
Canon shouldn't change if it's truly canon. However, some people can feel that changes in how a story is told recreate the canon.
Weird.
It is weird. And we've seen this tons of times before, and we're going to talk about some of those times from Harry Potter.
Harry Potter?
So we're going to jump right in to one of the first things that we noticed when the books were adapted into films, because they're obviously being adapted into a TV show. And we surmise that we will probably see some changes there as well in terms of what we view as canon.
Very, very long story short. Eric and I have noticed that there are lines, costume choices that people actually think are the real thing from Harry Potter, even though it's either not mentioned or distinctly described different in the books. And our understanding is that canon should be the Harry Potter books, along with anything that J.K. Rowling has published on Pottermore.
Particularly around the time frame of the book's publication. We certainly are guilty of this as well. There are times where we will quote a line, or we will, which obviously if you're quoting a line, it's probably from the movies.
All the time.
Or we will talk about a subject matter. The Goblet of Fire was one of them when we were talking about events during the Goblet of Fire, when I was getting tripped up on like, oh, well, they're doing this and they're doing this. And Jasmine was asking a question and I couldn't answer it thoroughly enough because I couldn't recall canon answer, which fortunately one of our subscribers was nice enough to do in the comments. So thank you, everyone who comments on our videos and leaves those insightful tips.
I did get one of those rare moments where Eric came to me and said, I was wrong.
She did. Yeah. There might even be text proof of that.
It was great.
Glorious.
It was glorious. Doesn't happen often.
Because I'm usually never wrong.
Okay. Well, but it did happen and I enjoyed it. So thank you so much for that wonderful opportunity for me.
So to get started, we're going to talk about the look of Harry Potter. Now, the look, obviously, when it's adapted into a film or a TV show or a web series or anything else, obviously there's going to be some artistic interpretation because
of course
the original books weren't illustrated.
They weren't illustrated, and not every single detail can be written about for every single person.
Otherwise, it might get boring. Somebody who took advantage of that opportunity for artistic license was Jason Isaacs when creating the visual character of Lucius Malfoy.
So when Jason Isaacs was cast and learned that he would be playing a character in a movie that Alan Rickman had already been cast in, he actually said he was pretty intimidated going into the series. He had had conversations with the costume designers and had come up with these aesthetic choices to say, I need these, otherwise I can't be this like intimidating guy anywhere in the realm that Alan Rickman is also in.
I think everybody who saw Jason Isaacs' portrayal of Lucius Malfoy is going to say he did an excellent job.
Mm-hmm.
And the persona that he created for Lucius Malfoy was fantastic. It's kind of nice that he went into it with that perception of, I'm not going to be able to stand in the same room as Alan Rickman because he's just going to make me seem weak or inferior. And that happens anyways. Because Lucius's character kind of is weak and inferior compared to Snape.
Yeah.
Snape is the Dark Lord's right-hand man. But he did come in a close third in terms of his intimidation to us as the viewer.
Absolutely. And so he went to the costume team and he said, I need a long blonde wig and I need a cape. And on the day that they were designing costumes, they didn't necessarily have a cape ready. So I think they got something to mock a cape. And Jason Isaacs, I think he went to the director who was approving costumes and things like that and had this long blonde wig on and had something to mock a cape and was like, this is what I need.
The twist on the visual representation of Slytherins at large kind of continued to evolve from that. You know, he had this air of superiority about his character, which is definitely present in, I think, every interpretation of Lucius. The book interpretation.
Absolutely.
Draco has this air of superiority about him, which we've talked about a lot.
But they visualized that superiority. So Jason Isaacs, he really pushed for his cane. He has additional rings and jewelry.
He's got the brooch. The rings actually went even further in that the Slytherin students, you end up seeing them all with some sort of signet ring. It's focused on a couple times on Draco on his hand. You see him kind of fiddling with it. You see it on most of the Slytherins by the end of the series.
And Eric, as one of the truest Slytherins I've ever known, also sports a signet ring.
But it's not a Slytherin one.
It's not a Slytherin one, but still.
It kind of fits the vibe.
It's in the spirit of.
So you end up seeing that on a bunch of them. And this was a visual distinction of these are the superior sort of aristocratic students at Hogwarts. And this is your way to quickly visually identify, oh, this is one of my peers, not one of the little peasants. This is one of them.
Eric and I, once upon a time, took a swing at trying to write different creative screenplays. And something that we learned and were told a lot is that you need to make sure that you show and not tell everything. And so it's pretty awesome to see how the movies decided to show this without being able to outright say, we felt like we were better than them.
It's one of those, show me you're better than everyone else without showing me you're better than everyone
else.
I thought they did a really, really good job with that adaptation. I know some people like to sort of banter back and forth saying, well, there's nothing that says Lucius Malfoy has this long, blonde, flowing hair. True, there is enough in the books to say that he does have blonde, like bleach blonde hair.
Right.
And that Draco had the same sort of hair, and that was like a distinguishing characteristic of the Malfoy family, sort of giving you that visualization of the like Aryanness, if you will, of their family because they were blood purists, and this is sort of an allegory to, like Hitler and his whole thing about blood purity without being so on the nose, obviously. To further that visual representation that we're a class set above the rest was great right out the gate. Yes, it did help him in portraying that and feeling comfortable portraying that on screen, but it really helped you visually get that sense of who these people think they are.
Absolutely. And I think that they did an incredible job. And like Eric said, no one has said that there is anything that says Lucius has this very, very long blonde hair. But nowadays, when you think of Lucius, you think of the long blonde hair, which is sort of twisted itself into becoming canon. So I'm very curious to see what they'll have Lucius's hair look like in the upcoming TV show.
Yeah, if it'll be long or not. Or bleach blonde.
Right. Johnny Flynn has
dirty blonde hair.
Dirty blonde hair. So
as does Lox Pratt.
Exactly. So I definitely think we'll go in the bleach blonde, platinum blonde direction. I am curious to see how long the hair will end up being, just because I do think of long blonde hair as canon for Lucius, even though technically speaking, it's not.
If you see any of the people who have done fan fictions and they've done any graphic art with it, they almost always have them with the bleach blonde hair. Draco has the sort of hair that you see in the books, although like a more grown-up version of it.
Yeah.
And anytime his dad is depicted, long blonde hair. Even if it's not like as long as Lucius is in the movie, it's still at least shoulder length.
Examples number 1, 2, and 3 are Lucius's long blonde hair, Slytherin signets, and the Slytherin tie pins.
Yep.
Are the 3 ways visually that the movies had a pretty significant influence on what was considered canon.
The other funny thing is the cane. The cane was, I believe, mentioned in the books in some capacity. I'm going to have to actually go back and validate that. But it was never necessarily where his wand was hidden. That whole Voldemort takes it away and snaps off the snake head, which to me didn't make a lot of sense. Like he valued snakes.
Dick move.
Yeah, it was just a dick move. But that wasn't necessarily canon, but we come to think of his wand being concealed within his walking stick as canon, and it kind of feeds into the historical context of the Malfoys, because on Pottermore, there's a whole sort of backstory about the Malfoys, how they came to be so wealthy, how they sort of manipulated themselves within and without of Wizarding World and Muggle World societies in order to gain their wealth. And you would want your wand to be able to be on you at all times, but be concealed. Having it in a walking stick would be a wonderful way to do that. People do that with swords all the time.
I'm sorry. All the time?
Yeah.
Nowadays.
No, not nowadays. Back in like the aristocratic days. Like that was a thing. People would hide a sword. And granted, it's more of like a fencing style sword. It's not like a big double-bladed sword. It's, yeah. But that used to be a thing. That was a way of sort of having some self-defense on you without walking around with a sword.
I now want a sword-infused cane. I think
sword-infused. Nice.
A sword-infused cane. I think that's the next step for me.
She does like swords, so this actually works.
I do. I own a sword. Eric was a pretty big part of that, but it's pretty prized possession. So whenever I think about the cane, I do wonder why the cane was a signifier that they were higher class than other people. I just get irritated when I have to like carry things in my hands. Walking around with a cane was like, oh, that guy's got money. When in fact, like, weren't canes originally for like people who were broken?
Yeah, but you could also break people with your cane if it had a nice metal head to it. So a lot of good visual representation of how they view themselves as better than others, how they just like force that upon you. You have to witness, I am better than you. Look at it. But of course, those weren't the only changes we saw in the movies that deviated greatly from what we were told in the books. And the next one we're going to talk about is actually a deviation on multiple levels.
I think it's the most egregious. It upsets me the most. In the books, the Ravenclaw colors are described as blue and bronze. In the movies, somehow or other, those shift to blue and silver.
Blue and silver do look good together, but
they do look really nice, and I get that in the movies it looked like Gryffindor was gold and red, Hufflepuff was gold and black, sort of, and then you had Slytherin that were silver and green, and then Ravenclaw was blue and silver. So I get sticking to the like 2 gold, 2 silver thing. I understand it, except for the fact that it's wrong. Additionally, the crest was supposed to be of an eagle. I know the house is called Ravenclaw. I do. But the crest is supposed to have an eagle on it. And I guess they were worried that people would call it Eagle Claw. So they were like, no, we gotta put a raven on the crest.
There's been a number of explanations for this, and J.K. Rowling did give her own input on why it was an eagle and not a raven. I don't understand why they still went forward with that visual representation, but the eagle is mighty and wise, emphasis on wise, because they really value wisdom and wit in Ravenclaw.
Wit beyond measure
is man's greatest treasure. Now, ravens are highly intelligent birds. Ravens, crows, eagles, owls.
Send the ravens.
Send a raven. Highly intelligent birds. But it just wasn't the right bird for the house. So we should have stuck with that. The colors, yeah, I would say that was an interesting choice too. It's almost odd that there wasn't some sort of goldish tone to all of them because you had 3 out of the 4.
So I looked a lot at the house crests today. One thing that is consistent between all of them, including the Hogwarts crest, is that the like title in the like scroll is yellow for all of them. So you can see here, Cho is wearing her robes from the films. The crest next to Cho is exactly the one that she's wearing. If you were to go to the Harry Potter store and try and order a customized set of robes, you would probably find that crest itself. And in that one, the raven is the only one that is black. All of the scrolls underneath are that goldish yellow, and all of the house mascots are either silver or gold except for Ravenclaw. Ravenclaw is the only one that has a black mascot, which I think is interesting. Hufflepuff and Slytherin are both silver, and then you would think that opposite would be Ravenclaw and Gryffindor would both be gold, the mascots in the middle, but they're not. It's the only one that's black, which I don't fully understand.
I think it's when you're trying to do like a dual tone that would fit on an actual crest, because they're usually going to be made out of metal.
Right.
It wouldn't make sense to make the raven gold. And even if it was an eagle, I don't think it would make sense to make it gold. And gray is almost like tarnished silver. So I don't know. Because if you're looking at the rest of it, like where its feet are, and I think that's a stone that it's on, that is like silver-y. Mm-hmm. And then the highlights on the raven are silverish, and then the stone is the darkish, blackish gray as well. So if you're trying to get like shadow, it would just be like antiqued silver, but it's got blue on it. So it's like, right. if you're throwing color into it anyways, why do any of them have to be so specifically like matched?
The movie crest decisions are very interesting, to say the least, but Ravenclaw was the highest deviation from canon that we have seen. And with that deviation from canon came robes, scarves, and a million other things that were embroidered with exactly that logo. So that change in canon sort of has become canon and has flooded the general market of things that you can get Wizarding World wise. Now I think we'll all have the question moving forward, what is the right logo? What is the Harry Potter crest logo that's actually associated with your house?
Yeah, like should it actually be a raven like it was visually depicted in the movies, but not visually depicted in the books? In the books, anytime you saw a crest,
Right.
it did show an eagle. Yeah, it's interesting because J.K. Rowling did make a big point to say that no, it's an eagle. It's definitely an eagle. It's not a raven. It's an eagle. Interestingly, we have since seen an interpretation that shows an eagle.
Where do we see that?
Hogwarts Legacy. Top left of your screen here on this slide is the Hogwarts Legacy style crest. So this guy here is more akin to what you would have gotten there in the video games on the back of their robes. And we'll show those in another slide here. But the Hogwarts Legacy, I think, did a great visual interpretation of most things. I think the robes got a little bit out of hand.
We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later. At least they stuck to the eagle. I mean, we could probably do a whole episode on the variations for Ravenclaw and how it's kind of stepped away from the original vision of the books. But maybe we'll do a whole episode on breaking down the houses.
Oh yeah, breaking down the houses.
Yeah.
Breaking down the house.
But because this made it into sort of the merch market, anything from socks to scarves to headbands to robes, obviously, cardigan sweaters,
Yes.
like every type of apparel you can get being house specific. It's weird because you even go into the, Harry Potter parks, right, within the different Universal parks, and the staff that are dressed up there are usually dressed either as students or as people who work in the facility that they're in. So like the Owl Post
Right.
or Hogsmeade, and they might have appropriate attire for that place. But if they have any representation as a student, they all have the house robes.
Right.
So it's like it's becoming canon. It's in the world as this. This is always how you're supposed to view it. And even the ones who aren't wearing robes, if they're wearing like student sweaters or things like that, it's all labeled house specific. And in the books, obviously, it was just a black robe.
Right. The students don't know their houses before they get to Hogwarts, especially for the first year. So if they were to go to Madame Malkin and be like, hey girl, I need some robes, Madame Malkin is actually just going to give them black robes because she can't know what house they're going to be in ahead of time. So everyone shows up to Hogwarts with straight up black robes.
An argument could be made that, okay, everybody gets the same black robes when they first get the robes, and then they get transfigured when they get to the school by one of the professors to match the house. But there's nothing that says that happens, like the head of house, Minerva, could say, all right, all Hogwarts students line up here, transfigures them all so that the inner lining, and Madame Malkin's could make them so that they were easily transfigured in that way. The inner lining is receptive to a certain type of transfiguration in order to hold that spell indefinitely. That could happen, but that's not how it's written.
It's not how it's written, and I think that there is something to be said for the fact that we are all separate houses, but we're one Hogwarts.
To me, it's kind of like, I didn't go to a boarding school, obviously, but I guess I shouldn't say obviously. You guys wouldn't know that.
Obviously, guys.
I didn't. I did go to a private high school, and that high school had a uniform, and we had to wear a blazer, and everybody wore the same blazer. Even the girls wore, it was a female blazer, so it was cut to a female form, but it was the same green blazer for everybody, regardless of being in a different homeroom, regardless of being in a different year, regardless of being male or female. You all wore the same blazer. The only difference was how it was cut or how it was sized. That was it. I could see having house robes for Quidditch, though. That would make sense. Like a Quidditch uniform that was house specific would make sense.
Yeah, but they had different robes for Quidditch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
I could see those robes being, because you will know what house you're in when you make the Quidditch team, and then you get your robes.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I think that definitely makes a lot of sense. You're moving so fast in the air that like being able to easily identify your teammates makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I could even see, because the other thing is they have badges on all their robes that have the house crest, not described either. I could see, your prefect badge or your head boy badge or whatever. I could see that being a house-specific badge that gets put onto your robes, because every house has a prefect, but I wouldn't necessarily see them having a badge built into the robe.
Right, it's not built into the robe, it's mailed to you.
That's a big rant about house colors, but it matters because what are we going to see when the show comes out? Are their robes going to be generic?
Right, and does that mean that the robes that we have now are going to be considered no longer canon if we have this show that goes on for 10 years and we sort of default back?
In which case I pissed away a lot of money. Also, the other representation of robes that we saw was in Fantastic Beasts. And they have a totally different style of robe. It's like a blue and black robe, and everybody's is kind of the same on the outside, just like these ones are all black on the outside. They're almost like a valedictorian kind of robe.
Oh, yeah.
but the inside color is still different per house. I
Yeah,
actually really like those robes. Those ones are sick.
they are pretty nice.
So now we're at the Hogwarts Legacy robes. These are like the special house robes. These aren't like the regular house robes.
Right.
You can see here very much an eagle. You probably can't see where I outlined, but this is very, very much an eagle right here. Interesting designs for the snake and the badger and stuff. It's kind of funny because if you look at the different badges on the hats and the different apparel that you can get in Universal, they ended up actually copying those designs pretty close because they'll re-release different sweatshirts and hats and stuff like that.
It's a lot more modern.
I think it's a lot more modern, which is ironic because these are a lot more like ancient. 1800s is an ancient, but ancient magic
Well,
and all that kind of stuff.
Eric's from the 1800s, and he's pretty ancient, so what are you gonna do? You know what I mean?
Not a peasant. That's fine. Another
Our
piece
last
of wardrobe.
visual deviation from canon. I think everything else before this has sort of become canon. We're talking about hats.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, and it is mentioned in the books, that the students wear hats. These small little, looks like they would be terrible to try and keep on my head.
Just magic them on.
Okay, just magic them on. I'm a first-year student. Show me how to do that.
Someone just does a sticking charm.
Okay, well,
It'll just suck when you have to take it off before bed.
exactly.
That's
I
the
don't
first year.
want that. This would not work well for me. Anyway, these hats, they have them in like the very first scene and the very last scene of Sorcerer's Stone. I don't think you ever see them again, though.
I love seeing it on Draco's head, though, because he's so pompous that he would never wear something like this and mess up his coiffed hair.
Oh, absolutely not. But ironically, he's one of the only ones that looks like kind of decent in it because his hair is slicked back.
Yeah.
It looks terrible on everyone else. But when I was looking through, different things for this episode, someone had commented somewhere that I think the post was like, well, where did the hats go? And they were like, they threw them up at the end of the Sorcerer's Stone and lost them.
Yeah.
They left them there.
They threw them up. The owls all swooped in and grabbed all of them, flew off with them, and they're in the trash bin.
Owlporium now.
Yeah. The Owl Emporium.
The
They're
Owl
in
Emporium.
They're in Filch's Emporium.
Exactly. That one didn't become canon, but I think it's just a notable point I'm curious about.
It's lost canon.
Lost canon. And so those are our visual deviations. Quite a few. Moving on to less visual deviations, more power deviations, skill deviations. And this one gets Eric riled up.
It's very irritating to me. I think the most, to use your words, egregious example of this would be unsupported flight. One of the things that we see in the films, and obviously it's because it's cinematically impressive to see this happen, and it really does set the power dynamic for you. We see unsupported flight from every single member of the Death Eaters and pretty much every single member of the Order of the Phoenix. Visually represented in two different ways, neither of which has any context to support it from the books. It's represented as basically the Death Eaters take off in their black smoke. The Order of the Phoenix take off in their white smoke, which also doesn't really make any sense. I know that's like good and bad. I would think if they're Order of the Phoenix and you're trying to go along with that, it would be like gold smoke or something like that,
Ooh.
which would look kind of sick actually. But no, it's black and white. It bothers me because in so many ways, it really, really, really diminishes the importance and significance of it from the books because there is canon for unsupported flight, but only for two characters. And it's something that's really quite astonishing. We'll start with the less obvious one, Snape, because you only really see him fly once in the movies. He actually is constantly being called like an overgrown bat, or I bet you he could have just flown away because he's like a bat. He probably has wings. Starting in the second or fourth book, it's commented multiple times that he's like a bat. Once it's just kind of a obscure comment on how he roams around with a big billowing kind of black robe. The other time it is actually a reference to he could probably fly. We do eventually see him fly or read about him flying in the books. And then there's a comment made about him learning new tricks from his Dark Master. But we're not sure if he did learn it from his Dark Master, although we do know that his Dark Master, Lord Voldemort, can fly because he's the other one that we're given canon background of actually flying in the books. And he flies during is it the Flight of the Seven Potters? Is that what the chapter's called?
I think so.
During the Flight of the Seven Potters, when all the Order members dress up as Harry to transport Harry from Privet Drive to the Burrow, they're all flying using traditional means, which seems a little odd if they can all just fly, but we don't see that until later. And the only person who flies in that is not all the other Death Eaters. They're all flying, like we see them on brooms and stuff like that. The only person who actually flies is Voldemort. And visually, it's quite stunning. Like, it's like this guy has serious power because he's like blowing through high tension wires or like explosions going off.
Right.
And then it's, and he attacks Harry, and Harry fights back, unbeknownst to Harry, because he's unconscious and the twin cores are battling each other. Yeah, it's exactly that. And then, no, when he doesn't actually get him. Yeah.
I do think it's really interesting that we see the Death Eaters fly, almost all of the Death Eaters fly all of the time. But for that one scene, suddenly we need brooms.
Why?
Why?
If you can all fly, which you can't.
If we're trying to make the point that Voldemort is super duper powerful, maybe we should have just done that the whole time. Anyway, please continue.
No, like that is actually the point. In so few words, that's actually the point. If Voldemort is supposed to be this incredibly magically powerful person, which, based on canon, in order to have unsupported flight, you do have to be incredibly magically powerful. That's like doing incredibly powerful wandless magic, very difficult for most people. Now, the school of magic in Africa learns almost exclusively wandless magic.
Yep.
But there is some question as to whether or not their magic would be even more powerful if they had something to channel it through. Because a wand doesn't make you magical. You know, if a muggle picks up a wand and goes to use it, it actually may just backfire on them and harm them or do nothing. It might behave like a regular stick, like when Jasmine holds it. In the school in Africa, they learn without. And so if they were to have as powerful magic as they seem to have and then channel it through an object, they may be even more powerful witches and wizards. Likewise, flying historically has always required something to channel it through. Unless it's a creature like a thestral or like a hippogriff or what have you. Unless it was something like that, you channeled it through an object that worked as a conduit for flight. So flying carpets were a thing, although they were banned some time ago in the UK, but used to be able to seat like 12 people. It was a great family car.
Minivan.
Yeah. And then brooms became the most popular method of flight. Otherwise, people end up transporting with other means, port keys or just muggle transportation.
Or apparition.
Or apparition. Yeah, apparition's difficult sometimes because you can only go so far. There's anti-apparition charms to keep people from apparating in and out of places. The Flu Network, obviously, is another one. But for flight, it's really like we just hear about brooms. And it's a conduit. Different brooms also have different capacity for exceptional flight. So we hear about the clean sweeps. We hear about the Comet 2000s or 3000s. We hear about the Nimbus 2000, 2001. We hear about the Firebolt. And all of these are finely tuned to be better conduits for flight. Voldemort doesn't need it.
Nope.
He has such incredible, and this is explained, I believe, in the Half-Blood Prince, but he has such incredible willpower that he can literally just channel his magic to work as the thing that's lifting him and propelling him forward without any conduit for that, just like wandless magic.
Right. It's supposed to be this incredible thing. I mean, can we all just for a second imagine the scene where Alan Rickman flies out of the Great Hall after dueling with Dame Maggie Smith?
Now, she gets applause because he retreats, but in reality, everyone's like, oh, damn, brother can fly. Like, that's...
Which I've never seen before, and wasn't 100% sure was possible because we don't see Voldemort fly.
And in fact, we don't even see Dumbledore fly.
We do see Voldemort fly before that.
But the students did.
But the students didn't.
Right.
So imagine the students had never seen anyone fly before, weren't sure it was possible, and Alan Rickman, Snape, just
flies out of the window. And they thought maybe he had hit, but then they saw something that looked like an overgrown bat flying away. Never is it described as a stream of smoke. Again, I don't care as much about that if it was just the two of them. It's that everyone can do it. The importance of Snape being able to do it, one, is it does bring up this question of chicken or the egg. Could he fly first? And Voldemort saw this and said, this person can do something I can't. I'm going to learn how to do this, and either he's going to teach me or I'm going to learn how to do it even without him. Or did he learn it from Voldemort? There is some writing from J.K. Rowling that does suggest that he actually knew how to do it before Voldemort did.
Let's go.
And that speaks to the fact that Snape was already an incredibly, incredibly powerful wizard. So the fact that Voldemort, in the end, gets the better of him and ends up having to kill him or thinking he has to kill him with Nagini really kind of shows that it wasn't that he got the better of him. It was that Snape played his card to make sure that Voldemort was defeated. So it really bugs me because not only do you have the diminishment of the amazing power of those two characters, as well as just the sort of parallel between them being so powerful and kind of raising the question, ooh, was he as powerful as Voldemort? Maybe more? Not only does it diminish that, but then you've got like, okay, we literally never hear that the Order of the Phoenix members can fly.
Right.
None of them.
Never.
And most of them would not have been magically adept enough to even attempt it. Very skilled, don't get me wrong, just didn't have that type of power.
But by making it so that basically everyone can do it, they kind of like nerfed Voldemort and Snape.
I would agree. And it really bugs me because I would almost be okay if you made it so Dumbledore could do it.
We also don't see Dumbledore fly even in the movies.
But to say all the others can and Dumbledore can't, nah, he's like the most powerful wizard and the one that
Right.
Voldemort's afraid of. Nah. What do you think about how they portrayed it though?
I mean, it looks epic.
What do you think they'll do in the TV show?
I am hoping that they don't let everyone fly in the TV show. I think that would be a massive mistake. But like the black smoke or like different color smoke could be kind of cool. Like, I don't know, different spells have different colors. So like maybe flying has a different color.
Yeah, I don't think it should necessarily just be black or white based on what team you're on.
Yeah, no, that seems ludicrous.
I almost think that it should be something more akin to like your aura.
Your aura, your Patronus.
Yeah. Kind of like how you have a Patronus that takes a certain shape. Your flight should take a certain color. Or if not, maybe it's like if you're dematerializing to fly, then it should be like what you're wearing almost.
Oh.
Like that color.
That could be cool.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it being like a really niche color, like a color that not many people like think of or see often. Because like it's a spell that not many people think of or see often. I know we have, you know, red and green spells, blue spells,
Gold spells.
So like
Yep.
we kind of have those four main colors captured. But if we wanted to figure out like a in-between color, I think that would be pretty cool.
Turquoise.
Cyan.
Aquamarine. I just hope that they only let those two fly. Let's be book accurate. That's an easy one to be book accurate on. And
Right.
honestly, it makes much less work in post-production. That's a lot of work to do that.
Oh, of course it is.
There's more visual representation from the movie adaptations that I think sort of became canon with how people related to the books.
Right. It's related to the books. It didn't truly become canon, but it is something that a lot of people think of as a result of the films, and it is the overall desaturation of the entirety of each movie.
So much so that the logo became desaturated as it went on.
Mhm.
We also saw that desaturation of, or the graying out of Voldemort's robes.
Oh, yes. I love that detail.
I think
As he
that's
becomes weaker.
it's a nice little niche detail. As you know, when he's first brought back to power, he's got these deep black flowing, like almost smoke-like robes, but like black. And then as each Horcrux dies and a piece of him dies, his sort of presence becomes more and more gray, which is interesting. It's interesting that he would become lighter as each piece of his soul dies. As you know, you might think of, well, as each piece of your soul dies, you're less and less human. Why would you be lighter and not darker? At least that's sort of how I view it. But there's just less of him.
There's less of him. I think of it as making him more transparent.
Or more ghostly.
Or more ghostly. Ooh, I
Yeah.
like that one.
We saw the desaturation as in like the color pop. You know, the first two movies were very vibrant. They were very childlike.
Could be considered Christmas movies.
And then the third one had a pinch of that still in the beginning, I would say. But once we get into the sort of more serious tone, especially once the Dementors are introduced, and as we see them more and more, we start to see the color pulled back. The color that we do see is more blue tones and silvers and like that sort of dark, ominous nighttime kind of appearance. A lot of stuff happens at night.
Very much a desaturation effect. I am curious to see if we will see something similar in the TV show.
So again, not breaking from canon so much, but sort of redefining the visual appeal that you would get from each movie. So rather than leaving it up to your imagination or your interpretation of the sort of emotional subtext of the books,
Right.
you're sort of getting it visually pushed on you.
And so everything that we have talked about is visual cues of them trying to demonstrate different things or themes within the books. And
Yeah.
so I think I understand all of them with the exception of the Ravenclaw crest and the flight, but it just complicates things for me. I don't know how I feel about like Hogwarts memorabilia moving forward. I don't know how I'm going to feel about the show because of what I feel about the films.
I'll be a little bit annoyed if and when they change. I mean, they're going to change the robes, I'm sure, somehow.
Right.
Because
Money.
it's, but it's going to be a little bit annoying because it's like, well, is what I have obsolete?
Right.
Not accurate? And with the flight, depict it however you want. Have the right people do it.
Another thing that has become canon are specific lines and how they're said. We've picked out 5 that are particular standouts to us, but make sure that you like and subscribe to this video and comment below so that you can tell us if there are any other lines that are particularly canon to you.
And I'll make sure that I read all your comments.
I didn't know you could read.
And that brings us to our first line.
Hey, this one is one of my favorites because it is not in the books and it was improvised.
Yeah, I loved and there's a bunch of improvised lines. We'll say a couple even that we don't have slides for, but the I didn't know you could read was just such a funny little Tom Felton special, if you will. You know, most of these scenes, because they're kids, they had to shoot them multiple times.
Oh yeah.
It's always great when a little kid says a line that gets improvised and makes the final cut. Because usually, you know, directors are going to be like, that's not what's on the script. Don't try to improvise. Just read your line. And it was great. It was perfect. He's not the only Malfoy, of course, that improvise, but he does have another line, which we'll get to in a sec. Lucius and Harry have a line back and forth in the Chamber of Secrets. Do you remember the whole...
I know. I forget what Lucius said.
Let's hope that Mr. Potter will always be around to save the day.
Don't worry. I will be. And so that one I do remember hearing Jason Isaacs talk about, saying that, you know, he improvised that line and he was so impressed that Daniel Radcliffe sort of like maintained the scene and then also retorted.
And he tried to match his like that he got from the original delivery, because obviously when they're shooting these, they're usually not shooting both directions at the same time. They did try to a lot of the time because of the kids being kid actors. They wanted to get genuine reactions. But most of the time in those smaller sets, there just wasn't the space, especially back then when they were using the massive Panavision cameras with the huge rolls of film. They just didn't have the space for all that. And they were using dolly tracks and stuff. Didn't have space for 2 camera setups. So he really had to try to match his like, what? How dare you, Potter?
Oh, It was chef's kiss. I really like that one.
Going back to one more from Draco. Good one, Goyle. We catch ourselves saying this all the time.
All the time.
If someone makes like a funny joke or somebody says something that's just like witty, we'll be like, good one, Goyle.
Or
absolutely right.
Or if someone says something that's not funny at all.
And we just want to mock them.
Good one, Goyle.
Good one, Goyle. You're absolutely wrong.
Absolutely wrong. Yeah, this one we say way too much.
Yeah.
But like,
speaking of wrong, we also go, you're wrong.
You're wrong.
And then we'll finish out the scenario. What?
What?
You think there's something worse than this type of ice cream?
Chocolate chip?
Good one, Goyle.
You're absolutely right.
It rolls it back in.
We just too much.
That one's, again, we're saying these are canon, but it's like, these are lines that stuck with you from the films that almost feel like Draco definitely said that, right? Like he definitely said that.
Right. It's those things where they're like, wait, which one is actually the logo? And you can't tell which one is actually the logo. I think there was a confusion of if the Pringles guy had a mustache for a while or something.
Yeah. Or Fruit of the Loom.
Or
was there really a cornucopia?
Oh, is there?
No.
There isn't.
There isn't actually a cornucopia.
Now I'm confused. So it's just like these lines, and the fact that they have been said and the way that they were said, you feel like, yes, that is 100%. If I were to say, good one, Goyle, like, is that a part of Harry Potter? Is that canon? Everyone would say yes. I'd say yes.
And I think the important part there is everyone would associate that with Harry Potter.
Right.
Whether it's canon or not. If someone says, good one, Goyle, or if someone says, I didn't know you could read, you're going to associate that with Harry Potter.
Right. And it's kind of a thing where, you know, I typed these in to Google. Even before you finish typing the line, it still autofills.
Yeah.
Because it's
instantly
so recognizable.
Some of the other lines, this one, it's not one that would come up all the time, but it's certainly one that we catch ourselves saying when we be like, nice one, Jasmine.
Nice one, James.
Yeah.
And this one has like a lot more meaning to it. I had seen a bunch of memes about, when I exactly say this line and nobody really understands it. Because within this scene, what happens is Harry Potter's dad cast Expelliarmus, and Sirius goes, "Nice one, James." And then in the exact same sort of setup, Harry goes Expelliarmus, and Sirius goes, "Nice one, James." And so I can hear him. I can hear him saying that.
And obviously the big payoff here is that he says, "Nice one, James." Harry feels proud, even though he, I think, was probably initially confused, again, in the movies, because this isn't in the books.
Nope.
And then he's taken away from him. So he's associated with his father by his father's best friend, so much so that his father's best friend thinks it's him, thinks he's back in his glory days, tussling it out with his best friend, and then he's taken away.
Another thing that happens in this scene, and is not canon, but I really like, is when he punches Jason Isaacs in the face.
"Get away from my godson."
It was all improv. He looks at the guys and he's like, "Hear me out. I'm going to punch him in the face."
You got a face that needs to be hit.
And I got a fist.
Yeah.
Let's do this. And so they did it and obviously kept it. And I love it. It's just beautiful.
That's what Gary Oldman brings to the team,
Exactly.
Sir Gary Oldman.
Sir Gary.
Sorry.
Sorry. Throw some respect on his name. She's only interested in you because you think you're the chosen one.
But I am the chosen one. Again, not one that's going to come up all the time, but we find ourselves saying it.
Anytime anyone accuses me basically of anything, like, "Jasmine, you're late," but I am the chosen one.
I'm assuming you're using that for an example. I know that if you're late, that's not the line you
Oh,
use.
absolutely not. I have, first of all, I'm not often late. And if I am, no one calls me on it. I mean, who's going to call me on something like that? Okay, yeah, no, I'm actually sick of this. But I do feel like I have been waiting my whole entire life for someone to say, "You're late," because a wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings nerd.
Wrong franchise, I know that, but still, I've been waiting.
At least it's wizard related.
That's true.
It's wizard adjacent.
Wizard adjacent.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one that I think people think, if you say this, "But I am the chosen one," people, especially in that tone, people are going to immediately say, "Oh, Harry Potter," if they've seen the movies. Which, if you haven't, why am I talking to you?
Yeah, you're definitely not here if you haven't seen the movies.
I have a question before we move on to this next one, though.
What?
Did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?
Oh.
Another genuine response. I love it. He asked calmly.
And so this is one of my favorite ones where they will show the text from the books. And it says, "Dumbledore approached Harry and said, 'Harry, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire?' He said calmly.
But of course he is lying.
But of course." Yeah, she swats the giant chandelier out of
Because
the way.
she's a giant liar.
He's a half giant. Get it right.
But a whole.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Hagrid deserved better.
Yeah.
Regardless.
So this
It is a
this line is in the books, but it ain't delivered that way.
I don't know about you guys, but when I saw Michael Gambon deliver this line, I didn't feel that he felt calm.
Yeah, I don't know if he delivered the line so much as it was like the deliverance of Harry Potter. Like he was going to die any moment. Like Dumbledore was showing that scary side, which is funny because there's a number of times, and I loved hearing it. I finished the Goblet of Fire full cast audio edition book, and there's
From Audible?
From Audible. Bing. There's a part in there where he states that it was like Dumbledore was exuding power and authority when he entered the room, and this is when he comes in on Mad Eye Moody interrogating Harry, but it was actually not Mad Eye Moody. It was Barty Crouch Jr. Barty Crouch Jr.
Okay, I'm so glad I'm not the only one that hears that.
There's another one.
Oops.
He just exudes authority. He exudes power. And he said it was like power was physically radiating off of him. This is actually in the books, but it didn't happen here, right? This is not the moment for that. And then we hear these other moments where he's supposed to be really powerful. And yes, he looks powerful, but he looks powerful because of what we're seeing on screen. Not because of the character itself, more the spell work or those kind of things.
Or the giant
Being fire.
Epic.
It is. But to basically choke out a little child that's too young to even be in this contest in front of children that are just old enough to be in this contest and a room full of adults.
And holding the contest in and of itself is questionable.
Yeah, particularly given that you're worried something like this could happen. The delivery was changed, but so many people associated with that, and even more people just meme the hell out of it.
I'm very curious to see
how it's delivered. I think 100% it's going to be delivered correctly.
Calmly.
That is something that somebody like John Lithgow, if he's still present, sorry.
I have been thinking this whole time, because every time we start talking about Dumbledore, I start thinking about John Lithgow, and then I start thinking, I'm going to be so mad if we have to get another Dumbledore.
He's going to make it. He's been thinking the same thing. So somebody said we were kind of shameful for even commenting on that before. Bro,
He commented on it.
It wasn't us. We were commenting on the fact that he commented on it. That is something that I think he'd be a stickler for. Like, did you put your name in the Goblet of Fire, Harry? And Harry'd be like, no, sir.
No, sir.
Well, if he said he didn't, then he didn't.
Harry's got to be. See, and I think that is something. Harry's got to be the one panicking in that moment.
Yeah.
If Dumbledore is, like, seen to be the one panicking in that moment, then it shakes Harry.
He internally is already like, I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here. Like, these people are definitely way more talented than me. I didn't even want to be in here. I didn't enter my name. I don't know who entered my name. People die in this. Like, that's why I'm not supposed to be in it. People die in this. I'm an underage wizard. I don't know anything.
How did this happen?
Yeah. And how do I get out of this? And they're like, oh, you can't. And he's like,
right. Yeah. And for Dumbledore, who never freaks out, to come in and freak out, it gives different. It's giving something I'm not interested in.
He's the thinker, the planner. He's going to come up with a strategy to make it all okay, because there's not going to be a student at my school who's going to be forcibly entered into this contest and something bad happen to them.
Right. Exactly.
There may be one that enters of their own volition and something bad can happen to them. That's fine.
Right.
But not one who didn't.
I wasn't trying to plan against that. So pop off, Cedric. Go ahead and die.
Oh my God. Go ahead and die.
Go ahead. Like, it's fine.
You do you.
You do you, bro. Okay?
There's other character involvements. We've talked about this a lot, but there are characters that have been basically just totally left out of the story. And we've talked about this in the context of, hey, I really hope that this character actually gets included because they had some involvement in the plot.
Or I hope that they don't exclude this specific activity. So there are 101 different things that we could talk about being deviations between the books and the movies. Today, we wanted to focus on things that really changed canon.
Things that come up in like Harry Potter trivia nights, and you could get them wrong only because you actually got them right.
Exactly. Dobby the house elf. What are you? That would be too rude to ask. Who are you?
Dobby, sir. Dobby the house elf.
In Goblet of Fire, speaking of Goblet of Fire, as we do, Harry takes gillyweed. Does he not?
I mean, takes it. He uses gillyweed, takes it, makes it seem like it's an illicit substance, which maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
Brother, gillyweed, bro.
Shut up. No, he ingests in some way gillyweed.
Harry is struggling to find a way to breathe underwater for an hour. And somebody needs to figure that out for him.
Potentially problematic.
Because in the book, they're actually talking about using an aqualung. An aqualung is a scuba tank, right? Using a scuba tank with a respirator. And he could acquire one, but you'd be breaking all sorts of laws for the magical decree of secrecy by summoning one from a distant scuba shop, because you have a aqualung jettisoning through the air, probably hitting people in the skull. Yeah. Not great.
Potentially problematic.
Yeah. So they're trying to come up with a way to do it. And as you know, if you've read the books or even if you've watched the films, somebody is helping Harry unbeknownst to him along the way. And there's another character we're going to include in this discussion in just a sec, but let's focus on Dobby. Someone's helping him along the way. It's not Dobby. It's Moody. Only it's Barty Crouch Jr. Now, in the books, this is where it's like the canon gets confusing. In the books, he gives Neville Longbottom a book. That book was given to him when they go and have a cup of tea.
After he traumatizes Neville.
With the Cruciatus Curse performed on the little insect.
Because the Cruciatus Curse is what killed his parents. #trauma.
He gives him the book, but he gives him the book as a plant. Pun intended.
Because it's a book about plants.
Yes. He gives him that because he's hoping that Harry will ask one of his friends or one of his classmates for a little help, and thinking like, what could I possibly think of to help me breathe underwater. And Neville will be like, oh my God, I read about this all in this book that Moody gave me that day. He doesn't ask him because he's too prideful to ask him, maybe too stupid to ask him, and also thinks that that's cheating. He's not supposed to be getting help from outside sources. So then he talks about it very, very loudly to Minerva McGonagall in front of Dobby.
To be able to breathe.
No. Moody talks about it very loudly in front of Minerva, saying like, oh, I found Potter's egg. I hope he's coming along with the clue because he's going to need to figure out how to breathe underwater. And the task is coming up tomorrow.
And Harry has finally discovered that Dobby works at Hogwarts.
Moody comments on Harry's socks at the Yule Ball because he can see them through his cloak. These are socks that he got as a present from Dobby for Christmas. And then he realized that Dobby was the house elf who was close to Harry Potter.
Right.
And again, uses him to help Harry Potter. So what does Dobby do? Dobby overhears him talking to Minerva about this, goes, oh my goodness, Harry doesn't have this figured out. I'm going to help him. He goes to Snape's store closet for plants and ingredients for potions, steals the gillyweed, gives it to Harry the morning that he wakes up late.
Potter, he has your Wheezy. He has your Wheezy.
And his Wheezy is Ronald Weasley, who he also overheard Mad-Eye talking about. He spelled it out right in front of Dobby, knowing Dobby would go back to Harry and help him. Super plot convenience, but there it is.
You could always use gillyweed. That didn't happen.
Could have happened. So granted, it's not actually a big stretch from canon. He did have the book that would have given him the answer and literally could have said, I don't know about turnips, but you could always use gillyweed. That could have been the outcome, but wasn't.
Dobby, without being asked, provided gillyweed to Harry. Dobby also got Harry up on time for the task.
Dobby basically told him he was going to have to save Ron, so he knew what was going on when he went underwater, which again plays into the fact that he saw Ron and saw Hermione, knew he wasn't supposed to save Hermione, but does anyways. Dobby is also at the center, sort of another thing that becomes
Huge plot point
that
is given to Neville.
Again. And that is the Room of Requirement.
So, Eric, let me ask you, who discovers the Room of Requirement and tells Harry about it?
Dobby, sir.
Not Neville.
Not Neville. So, in the movies, Neville casually walks by this hallway at a time.
Once, not 3 times, not thrice. But once.
And the room just appears.
He's like, oh, that could be somewhere where we could just bring the DA and run Defense Against Dark Arts. Nope. Not how you get in the room, number 1, and not how it happened, number 2.
In the books, Harry is talking to Dobby and is asking, do you know of any place that we can meet to practice? Dobby says, well, yeah, I do.
There is a place, sir.
And he basically outlines to him that he's been finding a place where he can hide Winky, who is another excluded character, which is why it wouldn't make sense necessarily to do it this way, although you could come up with another reason for why Dobby knows about it.
Right.
He's been hiding Winky's empty butterbeer bottles in this place called the Room of Requirement. I don't think Dobby knows what it's called, but he knows that it's a room that comes and goes. Some people call it the come and go room, based on the intended user's needs. And so he basically spells out to him how to get it to reveal itself. You have to walk by it 3 times, thinking very strongly about what it is you want, and then the room will reveal itself. He only knows that, again, because Winky, the house elf, who in Goblet of Fire is dismissed from Crouch's service, the real Barty Crouch's service, for not doing his job, which was to protect Barty Crouch Jr. or hide Barty Crouch Jr. She starts drinking all the time because she doesn't like being a free elf. She's not like Dobby. Most elves aren't like Dobby.
She's trying to cope.
So she's drinking, and she gets drunk off butterbeers, and he has to hide it, and he has to give her a place to sober up. That's another time that it's given to another character. The other character from the 4th one that's excluded, from the 4th book that's excluded, is Ludo Bagman. His exclusion is, like, in my opinion, a huge, huge problem, because not only is he like a main character in the books, he directly interacts with Harry throughout the books numerous times, with the twins, with the school, with the ministry. He's a member of the Ministry of Magic. Magical Games and Sports and Magical Cooperation. His exclusion, I think, takes away from the storytelling in the movies, because there are numerous times where it's hinted at that he's a bad guy.
Right.
And there's numerous times where you are led to believe that maybe he's the one who snuck Harry's name into the Goblet of Fire. He's even trying to help him win.
Within the books, it's truly a whodunit. You're very confused about it. And I know you're very, confused about it in the movies, but there are no suspects in the movies.
No, not really. I think you're always led to believe it's got to be Voldemort.
It's got to be Voldemort or Karkaroff.
Well, Karkaroff says, "You seem to have given it a lot of thought, Mad Eye. It was once my job to think as dark wizards, Karkaroff."
But I do think in the movies, they make it seem like it was Karkaroff. There is this one deleted scene where Karkaroff is seen going into the room with the Goblet of Fire and like shutting the doors.
Which, again, from Canon could make sense because he said, "Then we should all have the right to go back and enter as many names as we want until we get another student from our," because they only brought so many students, knowing that the underage ones were going to be not eligible to compete. So just because they're the older students doesn't mean they're the best or the most eligible. It just meant they were the ones who could actually compete. So with that context, it would make sense. We don't have that context.
So excluding Ludo Bagman, because he is
Excluded.
insinuated to have been the one sort of behind all of this in the books. And if you take out the scene that is inevitably deleted, then you really don't have any suspects on who might have put Harry's name in the Goblet of Fire.
It just bothers me that they exclude him. I think he was a real good, all right, this is the guy. He's the bad guy. He's the one we should be looking at. Why is nobody looking at Ludo Bagman? And there's more payoff to it because then we actually get a memory when Harry, is curious and puts his face into the pensieve. He actually sees a memory of Ludo Bagman when he's younger on trial for helping the Death Eaters because unknowingly he was helping the Death Eaters by giving information to somebody who worked for the Ministry. He thought he was just helping the good guys because he was giving information to the Ministry, but that Ministry official was already working for Voldemort. That furthers the whole, dude, maybe he actually is a bad guy. And Winky, the other excluded character, says, "Ludo Bagman, he's a bad man. He's a bad wizard, that Ludo Bagman." And so, again, this is deep misdirect, total missed opportunity. Is that canon? Well, the fact that he's not involved in the plot at all becomes canon.
I don't think it's the biggest misstep.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to shorten it drastically, taking an entire character and plot line thereof out is a good way to do it, I guess. And they found a way around it.
For sure.
Sort of Peeves was the other character.
Last, but certainly not least. The exclusion of Peeves does deviate the story from canon.
It does. We're going to focus on one specific aspect of that. But when Harry is coming in from Quidditch practice, Filch is in a particularly nasty mood because he's got a flu or something.
And he's been cleaning all day, as he does. And we have talked about this before, but the fact that the one squib has to do all of the cleaning and can't use magic in a school of students who are learning magic, brutal. Please continue.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. So he's in a particularly foul mood. Harry comes in dripping with mud because he was practicing Quidditch, which, why are you dripping in mud? I guess it's for his walk up to the castle from the pitch. Filch sees him, gets super pissed off, drags him down to his office.
Before that, he's talking to Nearly Headless Nick. Harry walks in, starts talking to, and meets Nearly Headless Nick in the hallway. And Nearly Headless Nick says, "Filch is in a terrible mood and you're dripping mud everywhere. You should make yourself scarce." Yep. Then they start to have a little conversation, and then Filch walks up.
Filth everywhere.
Yeah. And
kind of loses his marbles.
Drags him down to his office. He's going to write him up for it, and he's going to give him detention, yada, yada, yada. Then there's a big crash up ahead that gets his attention.
"Peeves, I'll have you out of here this time, Peeves."
Really hates Peeves, wants to get him kicked out of the school. I don't know how you do that with a poltergeist, but Peeves drops a cabinet at the behest of Nearly Headless Nick.
A cabinet?
To try to get Harry out of trouble. Harry's too stupid to just leave. And then there's more plot stuff that comes up that is totally excluded from there. But what cabinet is dropped?
Well, I mean, it's a cabinet and it was there 1 minute.
I know it just disappears.
Gone the next.
Yeah.
It kind of vanishes.
Oh, the vanishing cabinet.
The vanishing cabinet is the cabinet that Peeves pushes.
Because we have no explanation for why there's a vanishing cabinet in the room requirement, how it gets to the room requirement, and why it needs to be repaired. Because we do hear Draco tell Snape, "I've been mending it," when he's in the hallway.
And he's working with the vanishing cabinet and the weird apple bite thing.
Yeah, the apple bite, the bird. There's not really any context for that. How did he even think about that? That gets explained in the books, starting all the way back. I mean, this is really sort of thinking forward. This doesn't really come to fruition until the 6th book, but we hear about it in the 2nd.
The exclusion of Peeves removed the smashing of the vanishing cabinet, which is a plot point that we see all the way in the Half-Blood Prince.
All the way up to Dumbledore's death. In fact, it is the crux upon which Dumbledore's death can happen.
Kind of a big one. And that's why we decided to end on it for today.
So there's, as we said, 101 different Dalmatians, but also points that you could make about things that were changed, left out, or just altered in a way that's borderline offensive. And we want to know, what are the biggest deviations from canon that you recognized from reading the books to the films? And what are the biggest things that you think maybe now are canon? What happened in the films or in the franchise that you were like, yes, this is canon?
And if you haven't read the books, I'm curious to see if there is something that really sticks out from the movies that feels like it's canon to you.
That we might have outlined and isn't.
Right, and isn't. Or feel free to just comment it and we'll let you know if it's canon or not.
Is there anything that you think strongly that they will change for the show because of just sort of the medium it's being delivered in that might readapt canon?
Also, if you haven't yet, subscribe. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you felt as magical about this episode as we did. And until next time,
Keep your wands at the ready.
and stay magical.
Vitae.